Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Stephanie Chin, she, her pronouns. I am the director of Hutch and today's moderator and facilitator. Super excited for everybody to be joining us today on our masterclass of how to master HIMSS and beyond, how to strategically optimize your conference experience. We all know how expensive it gets to go to some of these major conferences and also how overwhelming it can be to try to prepare for them. But at the same time, we also recognize that it is critical for your business to be able to attend these and to get the most out of it, to be able to network and grow your business. So we're really excited to offer this training today with our fearless director of growth, Jason Lee. He'll be sharing all the tips and tricks and conference best practices that you need to know in order to maximize the value of really any conferences that you're going to. Although today we will be focusing on some specifics around the HIMSS conference next month. That is the Healthcare Information and Management System Society conference. So even though we will be focusing on that, you can certainly apply these best practices and strategies to any conferences that you have coming up. So after today's session, we are going to hope that you can walk away with some really tangible takeaways around how to be able to set a goal for what a successful conference experience looks like for yourself, how to be able to navigate some of the pre-conference activities that you need to complete in order to really maximize your time while you're there, and also being able to identify the different ways that you can connect with people while you're at the conference, and most importantly, how to be able to follow up with them afterwards. So for today's agenda, we're going to start off and spend some time around intro to conferences and some of the pre-work that you'll be doing before heading over to your conferences. And then once you get there, how to be able to really spend your time wisely so you can maximize the short amount of time that you have while you're there, and then what to do afterwards to close out. We will have plenty of time for some questions and answers. So feel free to just go ahead and drop those over in the chat, and we'll definitely make sure that we get to those. And with that being said, I'd like to go ahead and pass it over to our fearless director of growth, Jason Lee. He's going to walk through how to maximize your conference experience and share all those tips and tricks that I know that y'all are super eager to learn about.
All right. Well, thanks, Stephanie, and good afternoon, everyone. As Stephanie noted, I am the director of growth here at Fearless. Been here for about 3 years now. Previously to that, spent about 10 years in small businesses where we was just kind of like me and the owner, growing the business from 1, 2 employees to a couple hundred employees. So definitely have navigated this space around conferences, events from all sizes, from the little teeny small company to the smaller small to the bigger small to the medium sized and large companies. So definitely look forward to kind of walking through everybody and kind of giving you, as Stephanie said, some tricks around going to conferences. This started with me attending a conference and having some members of our Hutch program there with me, and really had a good time showing them how to navigate it. And I was like, I told Stephanie, like, man, it felt like I gave them a master class on how to do conferences. So from that, we came up with this idea and started to move forward. So let me start my presentation. So, why are we going to conferences? And again, we'll talk about HIMSS, and we'll use a lot HIMSS as the main conference that we'll use to kind of frame a lot of stuff. But we can apply these to a lot of different types of meetings, not just conferences, but meetings, industry days, things like that. So the first thing you really want to do is you try to gain some, you want to learn something. You want to gain some understanding of what that industry ecosystem is. So for HIMSS, you're going to learn about the health information space. In many cases, it's a lot of work on data interoperability, modernization, transformation. A lot of the new things that many of our companies that we started are trying to help move into. So then the next place would be, you want to meet potential customers. Make a new friend in government. There's going to be a ton of small business people there, program managers, SESs, a lot of chances for you to meet and bump shoulders with people. So it gives you a chance to really just kind of like get to know a new friend, and then make a new friend in industry and expand your network. Typically, I try to tell people to target companies that are within that agency, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Um, But big points I want everybody to take away with is that you're not going to get a contract at a conference. So please don't walk in, thinking that you're going to leave that conference with a contract, and if you don't leave with some sort of agreement to get a contract, it was a failure. The best outcome from that conference is really for you to get those new connections and a chance for you to follow up with somebody who's going to not see you as a cold call next time you reach out, but they're going to see you as a warm call. And I joke with everybody like your first goal is to try to just let people know that you're cool. So other additional success measures is really trying to tell your story. For small businesses, people who this is like some of your first chances to get out and shake a lot of hands and meet a lot of people. It gives you a chance with 200, 300 exhibitors. It gives you a chance to at least 100 times to tell the story and pitch your story and why you started your business and what value your company can add to a potential partner or a potential customer. And then also you get new ideas to try. You can see what some other companies are doing. You can see what some of the big boys are doing, and maybe get an idea of a different capability that you want to go into, or a different path that you may want to go into, from learning some stuff at the conferences. There's all kinds of um, educational things that you'll go through, all kinds of sessions that will give you a chance to really learn about the domain that you're there. So take advantage of that stuff. We talk about personas a lot at Fearless, and we'll talk later on about some of the personas that you'll meet, as far as large businesses and government customers. But it's really important for you to understand your persona, and understand who you are, and really understand why you're here, and what you're looking for, because a lot of the other small businesses that you're going to meet are really going to share a lot of those same kind of challenges and concerns, and it'll plan a little bit later, because one of the things you'll notice is that when you walk into these conferences, how big they are, and you kind of get lost. So types of conferences, here's a couple of different examples. For healthcare, we have HIMSS. I also referenced the HHS, the CDC, the CMS. They all have small business industry days, and they're starting to have more and more in person. CDC has one. They have their vendor engagement session this week, which you had to sign up for a month ago. And they're having an in-person session, I think, coming up at the end of the month. CMS regularly has events going on either through CMS or through NCMA. I'm actually on a panel on one March 5th coming up, out at the Owen Brown Interfaith Center in Columbia for CMS policy stuff. So those are all great opportunities for you to engage with customers and partners. DoD, AFCEA, NDIA are the two big organizations that really sponsor a lot of the industry outreach events. So being a member of AFCEA or NDIA, or at least paying attention to their websites and seeing what events they have up, are super important. I put down advanced planning briefings. The government, typically on the DoD side, their industry events are these APBIs. There's one coming up for Aberdeen. So Aberdeen Proving Ground up at Edgewood has an APBI that's coming up soon. You can Google it and look it up. But those are the places where you can get a lot of like forecast opportunities for that particular base. So Edgewood has Aberdeen, Huntsville is Redstone Arsenal. So definitely check for those APBIs that are coming up. And then on the small business side, all of the agency OSBUs, the Office of Small Disadvantaged Business Utilization offices, they sponsor conferences. An example I put up is the Department of Energy. Department of Energy has a OSBU conference every year. That's an in-person conference, usually very well attended by other small business people from other agencies, because not every agency is doing it in person, so they piggyback on some of the larger ones. So I would definitely look through the agency OSDBU offices to see what events and things they're having. Um, so that's kind of like the different types of conferences you're going to see. So let's talk a little bit about pre-conference activities, like the things that you're going to do that make you successful about this conference, and make sure that when you walk in the door, that moment of feeling lost and being a small fish in a big pond doesn't kind of consume you. So things we're going to talk about is like being able to review a conference website, building a conference schedule, planning who to talk to on the exhibit floor, setting up your meetings, practicing your company story, preparing collateral, and then the plan for how to receive business cards. A lot of, some of us will walk around with business cards, but a lot of times today, people are using LinkedIn and using their LinkedIn account on their phone on the mobile thing to scan the QR code, which automatically shares your LinkedIn information and makes you automatically connect with somebody. So really important to like have all of these things kind of in your back pocket when you walk in the door. So reviewing the conference website. So I think I'm going to try to hopefully share the HIMSS website. And so here's the HIMSS website. Um, Typical to many other websites you'll find for event things. I think a lot of people are using some of the same companies these days to do these things. But the important things you want to pay attention to are the attend, which will give you the dates, where it is, your lodging, things like that that are always important to get very early on. The programs, figuring out the keynotes, the speakers, all of the events that they're going to have, the schedule, so you can figure out the days when you need to be there, the exhibit hall. If you plan on having a booth and you want to have a booth, all the information about how to do all of that stuff, and then registration and pricing. So for HIMSS, there's multiple ways that you can sign up. There's the Conference Pass Plus, the Conference Pass, the Executive, and the Student. Typically, for the and that's for members. So I should probably go down the bottom part so you can people see the actual prices. So definitely an expensive conference. If you're not going to do all of the other stuff like going to the events and things like that, go for the conference pass. It gets you on the exhibit floor. It gets you to all the educational sessions. Um, if you are a CEO, doing the CEO pass does give you the access to a couple extra lounges, a couple of extra sessions. You also get recordings of all of the sessions. So if there's a session that you're really interested in, you can use that as well. So you definitely get multiple options. Sometimes when you go to conferences, they'll have a exhibit floor only option, which typically I use a lot because it's a lot cheaper. And for what I want to do as far as networking and just getting a chance to shake hands and talk to people, it might just be work for me. So definitely keep an eye out if they have the exhibitor only or exhibit hall only type passes, which can typically save you a lot of money. The other thing that's really important that I look for on the program is I take a look at the speakers and try to start to get my arms around who's going to be there from what companies, um, and get a feel for who I might want to reach out to in ahead of time. So there are a speaker list all the way at the bottom you see here, and it will load up all these folks. So what I did was I scrolled through this list and identified all the people that I was interested in talking to. So in this case, we do a lot of work at Center for CMS. We also do a lot of work at CDC. So people who worked at CMS I found. Also, if there was any individual companies that I was interested, made a list of all those people. And then what I did is went on LinkedIn and found all those people and sent in a connect request for all of them. And in the connect request, I just mentioned that, hey, I'll be at HIMSS. Look forward to seeing your session. And hopefully we get a chance to meet. And just like one, you're doing the connect request. And two, you're just getting a chance to be able to, hopefully get on that person's radar. So when you run into them and you bump into them at the conference, it's not a big deal. So let's go back to here. So so yeah, so that's a couple of things on the website. Registration. Note when you register for HIMSS, there's parts that you allow you to pick a la carte some certain events. So like the Thursday reception or certain receptions you want to a la carte in. Some of those don't have costs in them. Some of them do have fees in it. So keep an eye out for that. Also, when you're looking at the agenda, depending on what you want to do, when you want to fly in, the conference starts on Monday. So if they're the type of person who wants to get on Sunday, kind of get your feet under you, get an early registration, get ready for Monday morning. You might fly on a Sunday. If you're the type of person who likes to just get off the plane and go get it, that's another way to do it. Save yourself a night in the hotel. The conference goes until Thursday night. There is the closing event Thursday night. So you can see right here this year, it's actually cool when they're doing that Orlando City Walk. They'll have the whole City Walk booked off and have a big event there. So typically, you want to try to make it for that one. as noted, sessions, you want to identify your sessions you want to go to, identify the speakers who you want to get to, and just get all of that stuff laid out in advance. So then, like I said, once you go on LinkedIn, you find folks that you want to start, you start reaching out to them. Like I've been connecting with folks on LinkedIn. Also, been paying attention to my LinkedIn network because I see a lot of people already posting on their LinkedIn networks that they're going to HIMSS. And so that may be something that you want to put on there as well and say, hey, I'm going to HIMSS. Look forward to meeting and talking and seeing everybody there in Orlando. Because then you give people a heads up that you're going to be there. And if somebody's interested in talking to you, they're going to start reaching out and start giving you those requests as well. And then create a schedule. I appreciate Lisa put this together, and I think we'll post and be able to get a chance if somebody wants to use this. But we created just a spreadsheet that allows us to kind of list the call plan that we create for the meeting. It's important to have this organized because the days get very long, they get very crazy, you get busy. But if you at least have this plan in front of you, at least can kind of keep you focused when your day gets long, you get tired, you have a meeting with somebody impromptu that kind of makes you miss something else and you want to try to get back onto the schedule. So definitely this is super important to bake into this. I also sometimes bake into the schedule opportunities that I'm tracking and who I'm tracking with so that I have notes in the schedule that say, okay, I'm meeting with this person that date. So it tells me what opportunities I'm talking to them about and why I actually wanted to set up the meeting. So the next thing you're going to think about is the exhibit floor. I've mentioned a couple of times, like getting ready and preparing for a place like HIMSS is super important because when you walk in, the exhibit floor is like walking into Disney World to a certain extent. It is huge. There are all the companies there, Epic, um, Oracle, all the big companies that service the hospitals. So every time you go to hospital and they now have all these systems that keep all your medical records, all those companies are there. All of the big integrators are there. So it is huge, and they have big. This is where you'll see the $1 million booth will be there. And as a small business, it can be very intimidating when you walk in because you kind of look at the place and go, man, whoa, why am I here again with all these big, huge companies and nobody wants to see me? But that's not true. So you just got to plan. You got to be ready to work the floor. So first thing I do is study the floor. Know who's going to be there. All of us have target agencies that we want to work against. So, for instance, if we wanted to go at CDC, you know that the largest at CDC are GDIT, Booz Allen, ICF, Deloitte. I'm probably missing one or two, but all those are the big companies, right? So if you want to do work at CDC, what ain't the largest? You're looking to see if any of those companies are listed on here because that's a target. So you start making a list. And then you search and see maybe there's somebody else in here that I can come across that I've heard of, but I haven't got a chance to talk to. So this is a good way for you to start planning out a couple of companies that you want to target. So that again, when you walk in the room and it's super big, you know that yeah, it's big, and I see a ton of noise, but I know exactly who I need to go talk to in the room. Um, So again, how not to feel really small on day one, right? Like finding those warm connections. Always try to, go to a booth or two of companies who you do know. That you have either current teaming partnership with, or you've been talking to somebody in the past. Hopefully, through your LinkedIn connection, somebody has responded and said, "Yeah, I'll be there. Come see me." And at least try to go find somebody like early on that gives you a chance to warm up and kind of get your feet under you. It can be a little intimidating sometimes with the Googles and the AWS and everybody else is there. But you got to like find that friendly face to kind of pitch your story with them. Everybody is there to make new friends. Everybody is there to talk to people. So even though you may see a booth that you want to go talk to a company, but there's a lot of people there. It seems like everybody knows each other. It's just because everybody's there to make friends. And so feel free to go do that. Like I said earlier, your job is to go and let people know that you're cool, that you're a good person, that you have, good values, that you have a good business, that you manage it well. And then you could talk about capabilities and things like that. But at the end of the day, like being able to walk up to someone and say, "Hello, how are you? You having a good day? Nice to meet you." Like, and I'm not here to waste your time, just here to make a friend because you're going to be there for a couple of days, so you're going to see these people a lot. So you really like, and initially, just want to try to make some warm connections with people. If you have a business card, please give them a copy of your card. Please grab a copy of their card. Take a note on the back of the card. Always have a pen so you can jot a note or two in the back of the card that helps you remember that conversation, because we end up with a stack of cards at the end of the day and you're like, I don't know who this person was. But if you can put a quick note down on the back of the card, it helps. Like I said earlier, think about using your LinkedIn for your scanning. I have HubSpot. I use the HubSpot app to do some of that stuff now as well. Um, and having a place to quickly record what you talked about. Like, so you may talk on the floor, have a great conversation. Like, it's probably not good to go dive. If you have a really good conversation, don't go just dive into another booth real quick. Maybe step off to the side, take that time to jot it on the back of the card so that you really do capture the notes from that conversation, so that when you follow up, you can be very specific about the follow up, and hopefully, like, if any instructions that person gave you, you can follow those to the T and not kind of fumble through the follow up. um, and then when you have a good connection, like the where's the party that night, right? So hymns, one of the biggest things about hymns, and we tell people all the time, and this is most conferences, that most of the magic happens after the people get off the exhibit floor. Every at HIMSS, every large company has some sort of reception at night. So you're gonna Monday, and there are usually some official ones that'll happen every night. So GDIT has one, Red Hat has another one night, and so you got to figure out where those things are early. And so by making those warm connections, you ask the question like, "Hey, where's the event tonight? Are you guys putting anything?" That typically what will happen is those people will have little cards that they'll give you, that allow you to get into the event that night. So try to find, a couple of friends, and always hit up the big boys and see what they got going on. Work the floor as you see your friends there, and always try to figure out where the networking events are going to be in the afternoons and the evenings, because that's where you really get a chance to like meet people where they're not so businessy. They're just there to kind of let their hair down and try to make friends. And again, the biggest thing you can do from these conferences is just make friends, just make people who like you, appreciate you, in a week or two after the conference are willing to take your call and really get down to talking business and talking about specific opportunities. Layout. So once you figure out who's there, take a picture of the layout. So like you can see just from this map how huge the floor is. It is massive. So it is smart to go and like look at the map while do it while you're on the plane heading to Orlando at least, but do it in a couple of days in advance. It'd be better, so you can kind of figure out where those friendly companies are that you want to talk to. So when you come in, you can kind of beeline to your friends and beeline to those places that you might get some sort of a warm reception, so you can start your conference off on that good foot. So definitely take a peek of the layout. And again, I tell you, look at it, it's just huge. So practicing your pitch, we talked about that earlier. You really want to work on how you present yourself, how you're going to present your company, the capabilities. One pagers are still an important thing to have when you go to a booth. People appreciate the one pager because it gives them a chance while they're talking to you, kind of scan through it quickly, figure out quickly what your capabilities are, kind of take a quick scan of what agencies you've worked with them previously. Maybe if you have a socioeconomic designation, it's on there so they can get a thing while you're kind of just talking to them and doing some of the opening small talk. But really use this as a chance to tell your story. The first person you talk to is not going to be as good as the last person you talk to. By the time you do your pitch 10, 15, 20 times, you're going to be killing it. And listen to other people while you're in line. Listen to how other people articulate what they do and how they present their companies. And not to say you have to copy what they do, but you might get some tricks on how they bring brevity to a very long like list of capabilities, or they summarize, like we talk about being a digital services integrator. Like that covers so many things under the digital services banner, but it gives me a quick to start with a quick pitch of elevator of who we are. So definitely think about how you're going to do it. Don't be so scripty about how you do your pitch of who you are. Like definitely know the salient points that you want to get talk about, why you started your company, why you want to impact through the work that you do, um, why you like what you do, why your capabilities, how you treat your employees, all those kinds of good things. Like have those in your head so that as you speak, you can kind of bring those things out in the conversation. And it's always better if it's conversational more than you just standing there speaking to somebody, they listen, they go, thank you very much, and shake your hand, and you walk away and they don't remember anything. So definitely work on it and don't feel bad the first couple of times when it's gonna be tough and get it out because I promise you by the end of the week and end of the week you'll have it down, you'll be able to spit it better than you did when you showed up. Talked a lot about business cards. Like I said, you're going to get a lot. Note as much as you can. Um, Definitely think about a trick about LinkedIn because it'll save you a lot of time. I use HubSpot as a mobile reader. So, what I do in the afternoons is after I work the floor for a couple hours, go to the sessions, I go back to the hotel room before I go out to the happy hours and just sit at the desk, I sit in the bed, wherever, be comfortable and go through all your cards. I scan them in the HubSpot where I can just scan it in the with my phone. It OCRs the information, creates a contact, and puts it right into the CRM. There are other tools that can do that, but at a minimum, if you do that every day, and then what HubSpot also allows me to do is once I scan it in, I can also quickly send an email to somebody. So I can scan it, send an email, say, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate meeting you. Look forward to following up. So I can do all of that within an hour of meeting people and don't end up going back home with a 2-inch stack of cards that I then need to like remember, try to log, try to get people in. So definitely try to use some of the automated stuff to cut down at least half of the cards you have to like worry about. And then even on those ones you got, make a system every day that allows you to get through those things so that you don't have to take them all home and do them once you get home. All right. So spending time wisely at conferences. And this does apply to all. Like again, it's not just hymns. We'll talk a little bit about hymns, but it pretty much you get the same format at most industry specific conferences. So going to sessions. Talked earlier about looking through that list of speakers through the website. So it's not just that you're going to send them the LinkedIn connects and you're going to say, "Hey, look forward to actually to see your session." You're going to go to the sessions, and you're actually going to see these people speak. Because twofold. One, again, you're going to learn something. Try to not just go because it's a person who's from an agency. Yes, you need to do that. But two, if there's topics it may not be from the agency, but a topic that fits for you, then go. Like the hymns for Monday, they have a navigating hymns, like first times for hymns. So I would say everybody who's for your first time at hymns, you should sign up for the Monday morning how to navigate hymns and how to go to hymn sessions. So definitely good sessions there. So take notes when you go to these things. Always, if you get a chance, before, after, get a chance to go shake a hand with a panelist, introduce yourself. If it's somebody you've been reaching out on LinkedIn, you got to do that. You got to go back and say, hey, I reached out to you. Heads up, I appreciate the connection on LinkedIn. Love the speech. Definitely try to refer, like, get something there where they can remember you. Hey, I'm from Kentucky, Tennessee, Baltimore, something where maybe they can remember, something about you. But at a minimum, you just want to shake a hand so they got a name and a face. Then you want to follow up, refer back to something they say in the presentations. I always say, hey, thank you for showing up at HIMSS this year. Thank you for presenting on HL7 data interoperability. Appreciate the thing you said about whatever, right? They can, and just so you acknowledge that you were there, you acknowledge that you appreciate their being there, and you listen to what they said. Oh, by the way, if you got a chance, maybe a quick call to follow up, talk about some solutions my company has that are in line with some of the things you talked about in your speech. And again, it's not like you're hitting them back on, thank you for talking. Can I get a contract? It's no, thank you for the speech. Can any chance we can follow up on some solutions that we have that relate to the subject matter that you talked about within your speech? Um, and so the other last bullet talks about like-minded people in the room. I would definitely say that the other thing you get from these sessions is take a look at badges, peek at badges. I'm big at peeking at badges and seeing who's around, who's where, because maybe somebody from one of those companies you're targeting is going to be in that room. If you're trying to do work at CDC, you go to a CDC speaker session. I bet you a bunch of other CDC contractors are going to be in that room. So it gives you a chance to now go meet 10, 15 other new points of contact at other companies that are now at CDC in a room of 30 people. And that's only just saying, shaking hands with like half the people in the room. Sometimes what I'll do is, before the session's early, maybe sneak outside and stand outside the door so I can like grab people that come out. I've done it all, like, and stayed around and been the last one in the room until the person who was speaking finishes talking to everybody and go, phew, I'm not gonna waste your time because you just shook a lot of hands. But it's really cool to meet you. And people always laugh at stuff like that. Then you get a chance to like get them on a whole nother level. So definitely think about not just the speakers, but also the other people in the rooms when you go to these sessions. They're great places to do networking, a great place to get started for the night because you'll see people in the sessions that you'll see later on at night. It gives you a reason to go talk to them. It gives you a topic to say, hey, I saw you in the session earlier tonight. Jason from Fearless. How's it going? And it just gives you a reason to go up and meet people because you saw them in the sessions. All right. So who you're going to meet here at these conferences. So we talked about personas a little earlier when we talked about the small businesses and like you understanding who you are. So who are you going to meet there? You're going to meet from the government perspective, you're going to meet contracts people, so who are contracts people? They're going to be contracting officers, contracting specialists. There may be budget people who actually own the budgets for these things. They're there typically they're there getting educational time, taking some sessions. In many cases, they're there because they got to be there. Somebody said they got to go. The contracts people like really aren't looking for a whole lot other than just because they got to be there. But it's always like great for us in industry because it gives you a chance to go talk to somebody who has a ton of influence over opportunities, over acquisition strategies, and get a chance to ask them about acquisition strategies within their particular agency. So when you're pitching your persona, you're pitching to those people, you're really pitching around your acquisition path to that agency. As a small business, it's what vehicles are you on? Are you 8A? All those kinds of good things. So that when you meet the person, it's like, hey, I'm an 8A, looking to do work within your agency. I see that you've been doing some 8A work recently. Like, do you have anything that, and how do I like figure out the forecast for opportunities and things like that? That's why you approach those people. Small business liaisons are there to start to figure out and meet with one, the cadre of new small businesses that are going to be coming into that agency, talking to the large businesses to get an idea of how they're meeting their small business plans, how they plan on meeting their small business plans and their small business requirements, and doing a lot of educational outreach to industry. They're the ones there that do a lot of talks about how to do business with the agency, how to find, opportunities within the agency, and all those kinds of things. So again, that pitch slightly similar to contracts in that you're pitching a little bit more around capabilities, value, things like that. I always tell people when it comes to small business people, if you are targeting a particular agency, and so I'll again use all the HHS agencies because they'll all be there: ACF, NIH, HHS, CDC, CMS, HRSA. They'll all be there. And so what you should probably be doing before you go there is take a look at their forecast. Take a look at the opportunities that are coming up. Take a look at expiring contracts that are coming up with those areas. And so you can search GovWin, Bloomberg. You can use USA Spend. Any of those the paid or the first ones, USA Spend being the free one, and search for contracts. But more importantly, search for expiring task orders. A lot of times when we search for opportunities, we start with contracts. Tell me where the contracts. Tell me where the contracts are. Well, the thing that most of the work is in the task orders. If you look at CDC, the majority of the work that's coming up in the next 2 years are on CIOSP3, multiple awards schedule, SOUP, VETS, Alliant. That's where all the work is. So if you're looking for expiring work and trying to see where the new opportunity or where opportunity is going to come, you got to be looking in those things. So take a look at any particular agency, do your homework on where the opportunities are coming up. So when you meet with a small business person, you can kind of you can kind of get around the speech that they're going to give you. Say, oh, nice to meet you. Let me tell you how to work, do with business in our agency. Have you seen our forecast? This is how you reply. Like, do all that ahead of time. So when you meet him, you can say, "Hey, Anita Allen from CMS. Great to meet you. I've been looking at the forecast. I've been tracking these opportunities. I see they're potentially going to go 8A. I'm in 8A. I've done a little bit of homework on the incumbent. They may not be eligible, And then you come at them with questions built around you having done your homework, and not just coming at them with the basic like, "How do I do work in your agency?" If you come with them having done that homework, they're going to be so much more open to you. And then what happens is they'll remember you as well, because they remember the ones who come in and have their game ready versus the one who comes and says, Nice to see you. How do I do work there?" And then because what happens is small business people then push you off to the program managers at some point in time, and they're only going to push you off to the program manager if they know that you're going to make them look good. So if you've done your homework, you're thinking about solutions that can solve problems and meet requirements that they have. Small business people, when they meet you at these conferences, they're gonna like remember and check you off and ask for the follow up so that they can potentially push you off to the program managers. So the program managers are the last group of government people that you'll meet at these conferences. These are people that are running a lot of these programs. They're usually more technically savvy. Of the three personas here, they're here to kind of get an idea of some of the new technology that's coming, some of the new trends that are coming, meeting some of the new companies that are out here doing some of this work. So these are the people that, if you can get a chance to talk to these people, these are the people that can really help you. Um, One, figure out problems, pain points within agencies, so that you can develop specific solutions and offerings to those challenges that you can then go back through contracts and small business liaisons and do white papers and do unsolicited proposals, so that the program managers can get an idea that you from industry really can help them solve a problem. Because then what happens is as they build requirements for opportunities, those requirements start to look like you. They start to look like your capabilities and the solutions that you presented. So definitely when you're here talking to program managers, it's really trying to figure out what are their pain points, what are their biggest challenges that they're trying to solve within their programs, and seeing where you can like hear the problems and go back and like think about where the solutions are, so that next time you have a chance to talk to them, you're talking to them about solutions to their challenges. So that's the government, three different types of government folks that you're going to see in kind of the conversations that you're going to have at the conferences. You're going to meet a lot of large business people there, program managers here, very similar to the government side, except these people are delivering on a contract. So they're responsible for delivery. They are worried about making sure that they have the right resources, staff, capabilities to deliver. So if you have of a specific program that, let's say, GDIT is running a specific modernization program at CDC that you're familiar with. You meet the program manager for there. Done your homework coming in the door that that program manager might be there. And then you already have a pitch to say, hey, I know you're working on this system. I know we bring this kind of data analytics that can may work, or this AI solution that could probably help out big time, that we know that what the customer's looking for. And so being able to like do your homework around what those program managers challenges are around delivery. Sometimes it's just staffing. Sometimes it is like, I need to find some HL7 people, or I need to find some Python developers. Like, well, if you know that that's the tech stack and what they're doing in that program, to meet that program manager with that offer, huge asset. BD people, they're looking for teaming partners. They're looking for people who can help increase the P-win. So they're all thinking about deals, where they want to go. They're looking about capabilities and gaps in capabilities to a particular opportunity that they're doing. They're thinking about small business criteria that they need to meet. And so all those type of things that the BD person for the large business is concerned about. And so you need to be able to have a pitch that kind of speaks to answering those questions that they may be thinking about. Hey, and where's your value? Like, the one thing I probably should mention as well in these is that you're always pitching value to these people. Like the program manager, your value may be that you have resources that can meet a capability they need to deliver on the program. For the business development person, that value may be intimacy with a potential customer they're looking at, or filling a niche gap in capability that you know they don't fill, and that's tough to get on the marketplace. For the small business program managers, they're there building the new cadre of small businesses to team up with for these large businesses. All these large businesses have a minimum 20%, like 30% small business requirement on their contract. So if it's $1 billion contract, that's a lot of money going to small businesses. So these small business program managers are constantly out there looking for who are the small businesses that are going to be able to help be the next cadre for these largest. And so again, you want to be able to show value there. How do you help that small business program manager fill the need for a specific small business in a socioeconomic area, or specific capability, or understanding of a domain with a specific customer? All those things are values. Like it doesn't always have to be a past performance that you bring to a table that brings value. There's so many other things that you can bring other than the past performance that brings value to large businesses. So definitely be ready to articulate that to any one of these personas. And then, just remember yourself. Like, how do you deal with yourself? So you're going to meet a ton of other small business people. And and actually, this is where some of the real magic happens, because the smalls aware a lot of especially in the IT space, a lot of the work is going to small businesses. So you should really be out on the floor making friends with other small businesses. Like don't be so desperate to go meet with the largest, because you can find other smalls. You can do like creative teaming, similarly situated like joint ventures, CTAs, things like that, where you can bring past performances together to go win work. And so definitely like make a space for your small business friends. And I would say if you might meet with one large, try to meet five smalls for every large that you meet. It's super important to make sure that you find it. Again, all those people are going to be in the same boat as you, trying to make the most out of limited dollars that they have, really trying to figure out if they're getting bang for the buck on that conference. So one way to ensure you get an extra bang for the buck is just meet as many small businesses as you can. And then it's kind of like a funnel. And I'll use the National Small Business Conference as an example. You kind of got to think of, like, we all in the BD process have a funnel that has multipliers in it to get us to the numbers that we want to make in revenue. So if we say that you want to make one or two new friends a day, you got to set lofty goals to be able to do that. In that National Small Business Conference, it is pretty much every small business officer from around the country is there. So you have like 30 small business officers will be there. Get a chance to meet as many as you can. But out of that 30, you really, after you talking to a whole bunch of them, you only find out that five or 10, like a third of those, if not less, are tracking some opportunity that might work out from your company, and that you really could work out. You could probably do some work with. And out of that, probably only a third are actually going to be receptive to have a conversation with you. But out of that third who are actually receptive, really lean in hard with them and try to find ways to go have lunch or go have coffee, or if there's a reception after in the afternoon, find out they're going to that reception. And even if that wasn't the one you're planning to, take your butt over there and go spend a few minutes to go see that person and get a few minutes to like build that friend time up. Like a lot of times you're going to be tired at the end of the day. I do it all the time. Like I'm tired at the end of the day and I'm doing my business cards. I want to lay down and take a nap, but I gotta get up. You gotta get up and you gotta get out there and you gotta like work this funnel down of meeting with as many people as you can, so that ultimately it works out to you getting your goals of making one or two new friends a day at the conference. So talking about downtime in the room, like try not to go to sleep, but really use that time. If you either the HIMSS conference will probably have tons of lounges all set around. There'll be all kinds of rooms set up that are sponsored areas for you to kind of go and sit, work on your laptop, do whatever. Like I don't think a lot of people. There's only one or two hotels that are really close, and they're all sold out. Um, so, a lot of us are going to have to hop in Ubers to go back to the hotel, and that may not always be ideal. So definitely look at the map early on, like early on the conference, and figure out where the chill out spots are. because you're gonna get tired of being on your feet all day, and you're gonna need to know where those spots are. So definitely map those places out where you can go get a rest. While you're there, log your cards, log the meetings, log the folks that you talk to them. The better you do it, the quicker you do that, the more you'll retain, the better you'll take advantage of this stuff a week or two later when you're back home. Like, and even if you don't have the CRM where you can scan it, take a picture of the card and just take a picture of the card with the notes on them. And you can always take that picture and upload them into your Google Drive or whatever drive you keep your captured info. You can always put it there somewhere so that it's all kept in a spot. But use some time to organize all of that stuff, because once you get back to the office, you're going to have a week's worth of work that you didn't weren't able to take care of. So you're never going to have time to actually go back and do any of this stuff. So definitely take advantage on a daily basis, um, maybe twice a day if you can. Like, don't go back and sit down and check email when you have time. If you can avoid it, go back and sit down and log the conversations and the cards you have. And so conferences after 5, late at night. Like I said, this is where the magic happens. So, definitely try to get some sleep before you go, because you will be out at late at night. Hydrate a lot. But there's receptions every day. They start at about 6 o'clock. There'll be an early reception, then there'll be a bigger one that'll go until midnight or so. Um, Again, the government, what typically what happens is the receptions will start. Government will be there first. Usually they'll have private for government, and then they'll open up to everybody else, and a lot of government will leave, but then they'll still be around. So try to get to the receptions early, because that's when a lot of the government people will still be there. So that's just a little trick right there. But if you get there early, be prepared to be there late, because some of the coolest people are going to be the last ones in the bar. And just, yeah, just be prepared to get out there. Like, you don't have to go out and drink and things like that. You can go drink bottles of water every night, but just be prepared to be out, and be social and meet people and make friends, and talk about anything but business. We'll be in Orlando, talk about Disney World, talk about Universal, talk about the Heat, talk about, kids in college. There's so many other things you can talk about other than asking about work and a contract, because so many of us got like good things in our contracts. We got a lot of bad things in our contracts. So if I can get a couple of hours where I don't have to worry about either, I'm going to take advantage of it. And so definitely use these times to like talk the next day when you see people. If you hung out with somebody, definitely if you see them the next day, go and dap them up, shake hands, like, hey, great kicking it with you last night, have fun. What's up for tonight, right? Like, and just make sure that you be social. Get a nap. If you feel like you gotta get a nap in, cut out at 3 o'clock or 2:30 or so and run back to the room and get 2 hours in. But definitely try to get out and go be out, where the things are happening, because it's definitely the place where you get to make a lot of like good, strong friends. There are on also and on the HIM sites, you'll get the organized ones. They have a whole link to networking opportunities events. Some of these you have to sign up with when you do your registration. So definitely click on network opportunities before you register. And um, most event sites have these. HIMSS, I will say, is probably one of the more organized around this stuff. It's been going on for a while. The events part of it is always like a big part of HIMSS. Like last year, they did an event at Wrigley Stadium. They rented out the ballpark. I guess not Wrigley, whatever the park that the White Sox play in. They rented out and had like a whole thing. And so I didn't go because it rained. So it snowed actually. So glad I didn't go. But they um they have these all things listed. There are also other lists that are out. Um, so I will definitely try to post in my LinkedIn in the next like week or two of the all the other events list, because there's every company is having renting out a lounge, coffee shop, a restaurant. So there are probably 10 to 15 other things that go on at night. And so I definitely will get, if I can find that list sooner rather than later, I'll post on my LinkedIn. But people have questions, you can also feel free to like ping back and we can see if we can't share that with some folks. So get invited. Like I said, definitely when you're working the floor, ask people what's going on. try to get, all the large business, every large business there is having something. So Google, AWS, Deloitte, Accenture, I mean, they're all doing something. So you definitely, if you find yourself at one of those booths talking to people and you get a good connect, definitely ask like, "Hey, you guys have anything going on this evening?" Um, and try to get, and they either take your card, scan you, put you on the list from your badge, from your conference badge, or they'll give you one of these little cards. Like I said, these are late. Don't get too drunk because you got a whole nother day that you got to get up, get your butt up and go. So even if you do feel you had a couple of extra, drink a lot of water before you get to bed and get back out on the floor the next day. Because definitely got to reconnect people on this personal level. And like I said, kind of closing it out, like just let people know you're cool. You're definitely not going to get a new contract when you go to these things. Nobody's gonna there to like give out work. They're all there to have build new friends, build relationships, deepen relationships with people they've already met. And so use it as that opportunity. It feel successful when you leave and you feel like you've made some friends and people. You feel like somebody's met you and felt like hey, that person thinks I'm actually a good person. So post conference and beyond, like the biggest part of follow up is follow up. Like you put that in quotes. Like, and that's why I was saying if you can take advantage of time down while you're at the conference, during the day, at night, early in the morning when you wake up, before you go back out, you take a shower and go back out. Start doing your follow up there because the more you do it then, the better. Because again, when we get back to the office, it's going to be really hard to like remember to follow up. So try to follow up with everybody that you met. Like I said, do it in the afternoon before you go out to dinner. That way you remember the conversations. Do it on the plane and on the way home. Like some of us will have 2, 3 hour flights on the way back home. Use that time to do it. But no later as soon as you return home. Really try to get that done. Um, while you try to have those conversations, definitely try to like pepper things in the conversations. Like my kids are swimmers. And so I always talk about how my kids have swim meets and I'm always at a pool and I never get to sleep and always smells like chlorine or that. My kids are actually pretty good and winning state championships and all those kinds of things. And so that when I email people back, I can always say I'm the swim dad. Like, hey, it's Jason the swim dad. The people always seem to remember that. Like, and so try to find something when you're talking to people that can like allow them to easily remind you, or maybe something that the two of you linked on. Maybe you went to the same college together. Maybe you grew up in the same town, or maybe you like the same baseball team or football team, or whatever it is you can find. I do a lot of fishing, so I talk a lot of kayak fishing. I always talk about, wish I could go fishing today and things like that in the kayak. And people, whatever that thing is, I try to link that back to my follow up so that it at least allows people to remember. I've had some really great conversations. Guy by the name of Jimmy Smith. I think Jimmy's no longer in that position, but he used to be the head of the all small business for the Navy. And he and I met at a conference, and he had a long line of people talking to him that day. And I talked to him about the swimming thing. And his daughter was a swimmer. He's like, "Oh, my daughter's a swimmer." So we talked swimming for a few minutes. But when I emailed him back, said, "Hey, from swim dad to swim dad, nice to see." And he totally remembered me. He and I had a couple of meetings. I always joked that he was my last like in-person meeting right before COVID shut everything down. But again, it was around me having that thing that allowed us to link so that when I emailed him, he remembered who I was. Referencing those notes from the speaker presentations. Like I said, pay attention to the speakers. Take notes down. If they say something that seems really that you like, that's unique, that you take to heart, that you're interested in learning more about, take those notes down so you can actually kind of reach back when you do that. And the goal, again, is not to get a contract. It is to start following up and build relationships. You want to spread the brand of your organization and make these new connections. And that's so that branding piece is so important because in these in-person settings, it is like a great way for you as the person to be the brand of your company. And if you are cool, if you come off as somebody easy to work with, somebody who has some values, some ethics, people will understand that and remember that, and that will be attached to the brand of your company when you and your company come calling. So definitely think about those things. And then, how do I follow up with speakers? You just ask for a meeting. It's not even that hard. So like, don't feel weird when you meet with when somebody's a speaker at a panel and they get off stage. Don't feel weird about like asking for that meeting, like, or when you follow up asking for that meeting. I mean, that's the goal, is getting the it's not to have the relationship just to have the relationship, but it's to have the relationship so that when you call, again, because you're cool, they're going to pick up the phone. If you're the type who always calls, and the conversations are very transactional, like everything is, you want something, you need something, people won't take those calls. And so you definitely need to try to not have that type of vibe when you're talking to people. How you follow up these large businesses. Make sure you know who the small business program managers are. You're following up them. They're going to typically tell you to get registered as a vendor. um, if you targeting them before the conference, similar to like I was saying with the small business people from the government side, make sure you register, understand the small business portals that these big, large companies have. If you've already registered, you've already done, it's a really good look to the small business people to say, hey, I'm interested in working with Deloitte. I've already been on your vendor portal. I've already registered as a small business vendor on your portal. I've already signed up for some outreaches that you've had. The small business people think you're serious. They're going to know you're serious by the fact that you've already done that work. If you kind of are just kind of walking up and say, "Hey, tell me something about your company and how I might could do business with you," they're going to see you as somebody who's not really serious about doing work with them. So definitely, when you walk up to the large businesses, have done your homework. Know where they may be strong, what agencies they may be strong with. Know what programs they may be running within those agencies. Have registered in their vendor portal so that you can speak knowledgeably about what that large business is doing and where you possibly could support that large business based on the research that you've done. And then how to follow up the government. You're going to send your capability statement. Try to tailor it to the agency mission and what the opportunities. Do not send the generic capability statement if you can get away with it. If you don't know what the upcoming opportunities are and things like that, then you got to take the swing. But typically, use the expiring contracts, the expiring task orders that I talked about earlier, that you can research on USA Spend. Look at the agency small business websites and look at their forecasts, or they may send you to SAM or the GSA acquisition portal, but definitely try to do a look and see what's coming up so that your capability statement speaks to those requirements that are coming up. The government people are really only concerned, I won't say only, but primarily concerned with what's coming up and the challenges and the problems they've got to tackle. And if you can talk to that, better chance you're gonna do. If you're speaking to something that really doesn't really meet their needs, you're just gonna be put in a stack on the side. Contracts people, you definitely want to talk to them, let them know what your capabilities are. If there's specific opportunities that you're already tracking, you can talk to the contract person, ask them about acquisition strategies. So if there is a software development vehicle that you're tracking and you get a chance to talk to the contract person, you follow up, it's, hey, great to meet you. Do you have an acquisition strategy for that development project? And by the way, can you introduce me to a small business person because I have capabilities that I think would allow me to be successful on that project? And then on the small business person, it's kind of introduce you to contract people, so it's capability. So it's kind of like a yin and yang between contract and small business. And then ultimately, if you can present yourself appropriately to both of those people, they're going to turn you into the program office and say, hey, maybe you can send something, or give me something that I can send to the program office. So you'll send a capability statement or white papers or unsolicited proposals that you can send over. But really, the biggest thing that you can do is the outcome that you can have with the initial follow-up from the conference is that they just acknowledge you. Is that you say, hey, great meeting you at the conference, love to talk about X, Y, and Z. And if they reply and say, hey, Jason, thanks for replying, great meeting you too, we'll get back to you, let's catch up. At least you have somebody who's like responding to you and talking to you. And you can totally build on that versus you send this stuff over and it goes in the black hole, or they hit you back and say, don't call me no more. We don't have nothing for you. So just getting at least a warm acknowledgement of your follow up at least means that you're well on the way to like building a new relationship with somebody in government. And with that, I am done. I think I got it within time. Did I make it
Thank
in
you,
time, Stephanie?
Jason.
I think.
Yeah, we're looking good on time. I know that folks have been dropping questions over in the chat, so feel free to continue doing so. We'll also be sending out some additional resources and follow up for folks so you can get your version of the conference schedule planning template that Jason had showed you so you can start doing some of that prep work before arriving at HIMSS or any other conferences that you might have scheduled. So let's get to some questions. So Linda had a question around suggested dress code. Jason, like we're pretty casual at Fearless, but do you have any pointers for folks who might be stressing about how do they present themselves?
So, first and foremost, I would say be comfortable and be you. Um, I have a crazy story. I have all kinds of funny stories. So, the National 8A conference. I saw somebody mention the National 8A conference. So that was in New Orleans last year, and it was like 100 degrees during that conference. So I think a check-in at the conference, I was in like shorts and like a Maryland tank top, like and flip flops, literally in tank, and like ran into a whole bunch of people there, and they were like, "Hey," and I was like, "I am comfortable. I am comfortable. I am chilling. Don't leave me alone. It's 100 outside." But then the next morning at the conference, I had a blazer and a white button down and slacks on and business casual. I tend to keep it business casual. Um, if you're at some of the DoD conferences, people tend to will wear ties and wear full suits just because that's that environment. But I think nowadays, business casual is totally appropriate at conferences. Most of the people that work in the booths have polo shirts on and khakis, so you're fine. I mean, at Fearless, we're hoodies and jeans are like the hoodie is our blazer, right? So I always drive people like they look at me crazy when I actually put like a suit jacket on. So I do it all like just to give people a flavor of I am me and I am very comfortable in being me. Like last year, I met a gentleman. I was at a reception. Guy standing next to me had like a crew neck sweatshirt on and some sweatpants and like some high top Nikes on. I had like a line of people coming to talk to him, shaking his hand, line of people talking to him all night long. And I'm in a blazer and like I'm suited up. And so the next night I saw the same guy at a party like midnight. And he and I are like standing at the bar together. I'm like, dude, who are you? And he said, "Hey, I'm a guy from Philly, And he was like, and what he was the Anton was the national health director for Google Federal, And so, but he said, I try to be me, be comfortable in being me, and people appreciate you for being you, right? Like, and so if you don't wear suits all the time and you aren't comfortable wearing suits, don't wear a suit because people will tell that you are just not comfortable in that suit, right? And so, but if you like to wear a suit, don't come in jeans and a t-shirt because people will see you that that's not comfortable either. So, I mean, great question, Linda. But I would say the general dress is always business casual. If you always need the default business casual, and you will never go wrong. Um, sometimes let the weather dictate, but definitely business casual is the way to go.
Yeah, with him being in Orlando, you might be checking in that tank top and flip flops
Tank
again,
top
right?
again. Oh, definitely. Yep. Tank top and flip flops again this year.
That's how y'all can find Jason at the conference.
Yep.
Another question came in from Mike. So, especially around hymns, we talked about how massive it is. We showed that floor plan of the exhibit hall and all these massive companies that are going to be there. Do you have any tips, or would it be a good investment for a small business to be there? Like, we're talking 10 FTEs or fewer.
I mean, it's a good investment for one of you to go, Mike. Like, and whoever that person that is gonna go work the floor and is gonna go work at night and like really max out. Like, you don't want to send that one person who's just gonna walk around and grab cape statements and cards and just go to sleep, right? Because that's not maxing your time. But if you got somebody out there, again, working the brand and working the larges and working the other smalls, it's worth it because everybody's there, like everybody within those couple of days, every company, every agency, and it's a really good chance to like jumpstart some relationships in person because us coming out of COVID. like pre-COVID, this is what we did. That's all we did. We never did any virtual things. And now going through COVID, we all have this normal of we can meet people by doing Zoom stuff, but it still is not the same as going out and shaking hands and get to really chance and like going and like it's probably the wrong thing to say, but going like HIMSS 2 years ago when everybody came out of COVID and everybody came back from him sick, right? Like, but everybody thought it was so great that they went and got a chance to hang out and meet with people. Like, even though they came back sick, they're like, so what? It was still great, so great. Like, and so people are telling stories about. Remember, we got COVID together, and it's like that's weird. But again, like go out if you got one mic, spend the money on one, and make sure it's that person who's going to max it out. Send them on Monday instead of Sunday, so you don't have to pay for the hotel on Sunday night, and you don't have to stay for the Thursday event. If you're there Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, you get more than enough networking in that you can fly out Thursday morning. So just ways to shave a day or two off of the hotels and save a little bit of cost.
Yeah, awesome tips. Along the same lines, we also got this question around like metrics or outcomes if somebody is considering sponsoring or sending an employee there, right? Like sometimes people are at these things because they're voluntold by their boss or their boss's boss to be there. Do you have any feedback around how folks can kind of measure what success looks like and whether it was a worthy investment for them?
And it comes back to the follow-ups. Like, one of the biggest things I would say is so like last year our success was there were a couple of particular deals we were going after, and did we get a chance to talk to customers around those deals? And it was really only two conversations that we had. But we had those conversations and we had really good versions of those conversations. And so and we had a ton of people last year that went. And so for all the people that went to have those two conversations, you're like, man, was it a successful trip? But the deal we won was like a $50 million contract as a result of the work that got started in those conversations. So it really does come back to the follow-ups, and then if there are follow-ups tied to particular opportunities, you can put a BNP like dollar amount on that. So if the opportunity is a $20 million deal, and you're just saying your BNP cost would be like 1% on that, then you could say, then the money I spent on hymns just comes out of that BMP cost that I'm using to go after and track this opportunity. So it just gives you ways to create a metric that says, it is part of a larger thing, so more so than it is like the only thing. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. This is another great question that I feel like we get a lot when we go through authentic business development and helping companies and coaching them up around these areas. But, a lot of the time folks are like, I meet people at conferences. We have a lot of synergies. They say they want to collaborate, but then it never really materializes into anything. So, what are some of the things that people need to do in order to convert those initial contacts into meaningful relationships besides just being consistent and continuing to show up?
Yeah, I was gonna say the last part's the most important, right, right? But don't get in your feelings, right? Like, because that's when you start to become a jerk. And having been a large business, like I was at a large business, the small business program manager, and it was the people who would get in their feelings because I couldn't get back to them in quick enough, or I couldn't respond quick enough, and they would, you know, give me a hard time. Hey, I emailed you and you didn't reply. And I'm like, sorry, I'm busy, right? Versus the person that says, hey, I know you're busy. I'm not gonna bother you too much, but you get a chance. I got a solution, or I've been talking to this customer, and you gotta be able to like ping back the follow-up has to add some value. Like that authentic BD thing that we talk about a lot. It's value a lot of times. So it's part of it is, yeah, you remember me and I'm cool, but it's also I also can offer some value to either the program that you're looking to procure and put out in the street, or as the large or the opportunity that you're going to chase. I have some value to add to that conversation around getting that opportunity. And so you lead with the hey, you remember me, I'm cool, but then you follow up with the oh, by the way, you like I'm not just reaching out to you because I'm want to just chit chat. Like I get that, but also I know you have something, and I can really help you in that some value. So to do that consistently in a way that doesn't show like any sort of like anger, being mad and disappointed that people don't follow up. Like I had an example, met a small business program manager at a Department of Energy conference many years ago from one of the national laboratories. And we talked and got a chance to meet her and said, hey, I'll follow up. So I followed up. Hey, good seeing you. Let me know if it was a staffing contract. Let me know if your staffing contract. And they would, nothing yet. Every month, hey, just checking in, and nothing too much. And then after doing that for about 6, 8 months, I reached out and said, hey, just checking again on that BOA. And she said, hey, that's not coming up. But you've been super cool because I would always email, hey, not to be a pest. Hope things good. Here it's snowing down in South Carolina today. How you doing? Like, great, that kind of stuff. And she's like, you've been so cool. You've been on it. I got this whole other thing that I'm working on. And I need somebody like you who's not a jerk, who knows how to like do business and do it in a way that's like respectful of my time. And so it ended up becoming the protege, the IT protege to this whole lab, this big national, like multi $10 billion national lab, just because the follow up was consistent. It was cool. It was respectful. And it just, it takes time. It takes time to do these things. But that was like, and I did business with them. I went to another company and was still able to leverage the relationship from that meeting to go bring that other company in as a protege after my own company got the protege. But again, it all started with meeting people at the conference, just following up and just being cool about the follow up because they're going to get 1,000 emails after the show, right? So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not like you can't feel bad if you're going to respond because there are going to be so many responses. But it's just you got to like weave through. You send the first one, then a month later say, "I'm sure have you gotten through the 1,000 emails from the show yet?" But love to talk. I got this thing that I would love to talk to you about. Right?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I know a lot of first time attendees are kind of like overwhelmed and thinking about all the things and all the prep work that needs to happen. What is one thing or one tip that you would really emphasize if anything else, like this is the thing that they should do as a first time attendee?
Don't be intimidated by the floor when you walk in. um, because it just scares you. Like, and it could be AFCEA, it could be NDIA, any of these big conferences that you go to. As a small business, you always walk in the door and you get intimidated and you go, "Why am I here again?" Nobody wants to talk to me. They want to talk to all these big guys. Why would anybody want to talk to me? And you can't get intimidated by that. You have to understand that you bring just as much value to those customers as these large businesses do. Like it just may not be at the same scale, but you still bring some sort of value. And there's still a conversation to be had in all the same spaces that these larges are in. And so you just have to tell yourself that. You gotta charge in because there have been days when like my first conferences, and I used to use AFCEA. AFCEA has a conference called it's AFCEA West out in San Diego. It's a huge military conference out in San Diego. You walk in and it's airplanes hanging from the ceiling and like boats and it's crazy. Like, and I'm an small IT company. Like, why am I here again? But it took me a while, and then and I actually turned around and walked out and like sat outside. And this is back when I used to smoke cigarettes. And I sat out and smoked a cigarette. Like it was like, I don't know what to do here. Right. But I got back up, went inside and like remembered that there were people I had planned on talking to. I found those people that I wanted to talk to, got those warm conversations under my feet, like saw some other people that maybe looked interesting and just started making my way. So definitely don't be intimidated. Go try to find a friend first. Plan out to go find a friend first. Like plan out to go find a booth of somebody. We're all gonna have at least one company we know that's gonna have a booth in that place. Go to that company first. Go hang out with those people that you know. Go kind of use that as a place to start talking. Because what happens is you talk so much and you tell your story so much. By the end of the day, man, you're gonna have the gift of gab. You're gonna be able to talk to anybody. So practicing with your friends in a warm place always great. So by the afternoon, you're not nervous anymore. You can go talk to these people you never met before, and you're definitely gonna go kill it. That was a couple of tips.
I love it. Thank you so much, Jason. So, thank you for everybody for joining us. Thank you for all of the thoughtful questions. Jason and I will both be at him, so hopefully we can meet up in person. Feel free to reach out and schedule time with us while we're down there. And then also, for those who enjoyed this webinar and are interested in some other training topics, this is just one of the things that we offer through HUT. So think of us as this home base where small businesses can grow and scale up without getting lost amongst the bigger competition. So we work with entrepreneurs each and every single day. So if you enjoyed today's training and want to learn more, feel free to reach out to us directly or visit our website at hutstudio.io. Appreciate the time today, everybody. Jason, thank you, thank you, thank you. Looking forward to seeing everybody soon.